and explore strengths and weaknesses for locations. Use the evidence from this research, which does focus on experienced, interested recreational boaters, to perhaps start by targeting those types of boaters who might be able to become ambassadors for seagrass and its protection. So there's something about working with people who already think this is an issue. Using trusted authorities to put out consistent messages, and carrying out multiple strategies in one place. So boaters are getting consistent information from a number of different sources. Thank you.
Great. Thanks to all of our speakers for what I think has been some rather interesting and thought-provoking material there. We've got some time now for a Q&A session. We had encouraged you all at the beginning to pop over to Slido to post your questions. I see one person has, thank you. And there is a response posted to it already, but just to say there's still time to ask your questions. You can ask them on Slido. I see several people have been popping comments and remarks in the chat on Zoom as well, so we'll pick up on some of those. But just to read out our question posed on Slido, and if someone would like to respond, that would be great. So the question is, if we have increased seagrass beds on the River Yelm and high density yachting, can we conclude that yachting is actually beneficial to seagrass beds? Would any of our speakers like to come in on that? Fee, perhaps.
Sorry, yes, I did write a reply, and yeah, there are reports that the seagrass in the elm is increasing in extent, but as I said, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a flourishing and a healthy seagrass meadow. I mean, they do vary, so you know, you can have very small, dense seagrass beds, but you know, if they extend, they can be really patchy, and then when they're patchy, and if the rhizome bed below is then impacted, then they are more prone for scouring. So extent does not necessarily mean it's a flourishing seagrass bed with all the benefits that that has. And as I said, we like to work with the Yelm boating community and sort of understand more about this extent and look at the seagrass around there. So that is something we will be working on. So yeah.
Can I just come in on that one, in that the surveys have shown that the extent and density of seagrass in the Yelm has moved a bit, but hasn't changed significantly. And I think this is specific to the Yelm rather than generally in seagrass.
Yeah, there's different areas, and then if you look to the other side around Red Cove, that the seagrass bed around there has diminished. So there is variations around in the area. And
there is, but that's not where most people anchor. In fact,
no, I understand, but a lot of the time you're looking at the overall extent of seagrass in an area, so not particular beds per se, and so we want to try and improve the status of seagrass as a whole in those different areas. So it's something we need to look at, and definitely over the time with ReMEDIES, we want to have more of those conversations, which we hope we can do in the Yelm to understand it and people's ideas of how they feel about it.
Thank you. So looking at the chat on Zoom, there's been a couple of comments relating to insurance. Somebody said it's an interesting point about the insurance renewal. If people aren't insured, if they anchor in seagrass areas, then they won't anchor there. And someone else suggests that insurance companies would be a good way to communicate with boating communities. I don't know if anybody would like to respond to that.
I can just say that was something that came up, I think, in one of the meetings really, and thinking about how you could get messages out to boaters. So yeah, it was something that just came up really.
Fee, is there anything you'd like to say about the topic of insurance and using advanced mooring systems?
I'm not per se insurance, but as I understand it, I'm not sure about the how it works in seagrass. more understanding of the moorings, that they have to be fit for purpose, and that's how your insurance goes. But not, unfortunately, I don't own a boat, and so I don't have one to insure. So that's something that I'd be more than happy for the boating community to inform us more about.
Thank you. Somebody has asked if they can have a copy of the slides, because there's quite a lot to read. They've also asked for a new keyboard, which we can't help with, but we can definitely help with sharing the slides, and we'll tell you more about that in a bit. Just having a look through the other comments. I noted that somebody mentioned that there might be, so when Claire was covering our the evidence review that the team carried out, I think they mentioned that there was, very limited evidence available. And somebody suggested that there might be some useful information from before 2015. I don't know if Claire wanted to say anything about the evidence review and the ability to access evidence.
I think just looking at those comments, thank you, Paul and Tim. Yeah, I mean, we were looking in quite a narrow area, as we say, because we're looking at anchoring and we were looking at behaviour change. Yeah, so not papers that were looking necessarily to look at the technical effectiveness of those approaches, but also ones that were then looking at an element of behaviour change. So yes, more evidence I think is definitely needed, and I think that's an interesting point. Before 2015, there may well be, Tim, it was partly a decision to limit the evidence review at this stage, but I think that was that would be interesting potentially to look further into. Thanks.
I would say if anyone is aware of any evidence from before 2015 or that you think might be useful to us, be very happy to receive it. So you'll see our contact details coming up shortly, so please do just send us links. We would be very keen to see. Just having a look through the other comments there, somebody has noted it was an interesting quote referring to weeds, that while people might want to protect seagrass, they might be unable to identify it and unable to differentiate between seagrass and seaweed, which I think is an interesting point. I don't know if any of our speakers have anything that they'd like to, any comments or remarks in the chat that they would particularly like to respond to while I go through.
I think I'll just say that a lot of the comments, and thank you for people addressing those, is something we're looking at, and that whole thing about seagrass and weeds. That's why, part of the ReMEDIES project, we have a lot of that communication and education to try and help people understand about seagrass, its benefits of seagrass, and also how to identify seagrass. We can help with that, but also the locations as well. So that's something we're working with the RYA to provide like little chartlets of locations, because that's come up a lot, and I can completely understand. And people, I think from the surveys that Claire's identified, that there are people that want to avoid seagrass. I've also heard that actually anchoring in seagrass is not a good thing, because you prefer bare ground, so your anchor catches. So, there's lots of different things around that. So the charts and locations is something we are working on with the RYA, and hopefully they'll be available around May. We'll also be doing the project website, so they'll be available on there, looking at harbour guides and providing that information wherever possible. Also, the Royal Yachting Association has produced, through the Green Blue Initiative, have produced an anchoring and mooring guide of people, because there are ways that you can anchor, different ways, so it has less of an impact on the seabed, whether that be seagrass or marl or whatever your seabed is. So there's lots of information that have been coming out about that through the ReMEDIES as we go forward. So just to sort of highlight those few bits there. And I'm afraid I have to go to another meeting.
I'm conscious of the time. We are at our time, but we've got a couple more slides. If we could have the next slide, please, just to tell you about what's coming up in the wider ReMEDIES project and to give you our details. So I'll let Wendy, our comms officer, quickly run you through them.
Hello, hello. Yes, thank you. I've got -1 minute to tell you all this. I'll try and make it quick. I'm Wendy. I'm the comms officer for ReMEDIES. Many of you will have had contact with me through being invited to today. I just wanted to let you know some of the ways that you can stay connected with the project if you desire that. We have a very popular webinar series run between ReMEDIES and Ocean Conservation Trust. The next episode is tomorrow, so please do register. I'm just going to paste the links into the chat there, so you can directly click on those and register right now if you want to. Next Monday, we have two, in partnership with Marine Conservation Society, our project partners. We have two webinars, which are, one is the Ocean Superheroes live lesson that you see there. We also, which isn't listed, so I should mention it, is a seagrass special at 6:30. And again, you can click on the links in the side there and register for those. And we'll also have, with the Green Blue next month, a anchoring and mooring webinar based specifically at recreational boaters. I don't sadly have the date for that at the moment, but in the meantime, if you wish, you can download the Green Guide to Anchoring and Moorings produced with the Green Blue. And as soon as we do have those dates available, I always share them on our social media channels. If you would like to follow us on social media, could you put the next slide up, please? Our details are at EU Life Remedies, and we're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So please do engage with us on there if you'd like. We have next Monday is World Seagrass Day, so we will be doing lots of chat around seagrass, positive messages around the work that we're doing, involving our project partners in that, and it'd be really good if you do follow us to sort of be part of the conversation on that. And there you can email us directly if you like. That's our EU Life Remedies email address.
And on the next slide, there is a link to our feedback survey. We would love to hear what you thought about today. It's an opportunity to tell us what you think, but also it's an opportunity to sign up to our mailing list if you did want to stay in touch with the project. That's an easy way to do it. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. Apologies for running slightly over. Thank you for the lively discussion that we've had. And we'll close here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.